Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Coventry Sphinx podcast, a podcast about a non-league football club. I'm Chris Nee, and in this episode I'll be talking about off-the-pitch matters with the club's decision makers. Coventry Sphinx Football Club has teamed up with developers Wellington Arch on a plan that would regenerate scrubland around our ground and provide more than 100 new homes. At its heart, the club would be gifted the freehold to the ground, which we would own outright for the first time in our history. At the end of the episode I'll give you this information again, but if you'd like to offer your support to the club in obtaining that freehold, you can have your say on the joint application via the planning portal on the Coventry City Council website, which is planning.coventry.gov.uk. The reference number is OUT 2021-0104. That's OUT 2021-0104. With the plan submitted and planning consultation ongoing, I thought I'd break the podcast COVID silence by talking to the people who know the score. So I grabbed some time with Danny Carhill, Joey Fletcher and Neil Buswell to get the lowdown. And here it is. We have three new voices with us today, so let's begin with some introductions to our football club trustees. I'll ask each of you to tell us your name and your role at Coventry Sphinx Football Club and everything else.
My name is Neil Buswell. I'm a trustee and I'm also the treasurer of the Social Club and Football Club.
I'm Joey Fletcher. I am vice chairman of the football club and chairman of the social club.
I'm Danny Carhill, chairman of the football club, trustee and licensee.
Our club goes back 75 years this year, which we're very proud of, and I think we consider ourselves a club with history. Joe, why don't you give us a short version of the history of the club?
Short version. Right, here you go. Obviously, my involvement started probably over 30 years ago. I came here as a 21-year-old player, played for the club for ever since, really, and through them years was very successful playing-wise on the field, won no end of trophies with the club. Then, obviously, age got the better of me and retired from football, but obviously kept involved with the club as secretary to the first team, as assistant manager to the first team. So I've done all the roles within the club, and as you say, as times move on, we've seen different managers over the years, and all been very successful. Obviously, when I started first here, we had two teams. That's all we had. That was a first team and a reserve side. But over the number of years, we've improved on that, and obviously we are where we are today with over 30 odd sides, I think, involved in the club. So we've grown as a club over the number of years. Obviously, lots and lots of people over the years have helped in many ways and probably are no longer here, have either passed away or moved on to pastures new. But obviously the club keeps growing and we're hopefully getting better and better year by year.
And we're not just a non-league football club, Dan. We've got a junior section that we're all very pleased with and very proud of as well.
Yes, we have. If you go back to the mid to late 90s, we started off with 14s. And prior to that, my association with the Sphinx was that, yes, I played here, but I was nowhere in the same league as my colleague here, Joey. Locally is known as the Legend.
Scored a few goals, I'm told.
Well, he keeps on telling us that. We can't get away from it. But, I've known Joey for many years. We were at school together and whatever. And we had these aspirations of trying to look to grow the junior section. We had several conversations, and as I say, we started with 4 teams, and we're now, we're approaching the 30. So it has been successful, and the club is continuing to grow, which is fantastic.
Do you consider yourself a custodian of all of that history?
Yes, we've played our part. I have to say that both past and present associates with the club have got us to where we are today. It isn't down to the three of us. If you look back, even before Joe played here, everybody has played their part in history. As you say, Neil, quite, we're into our 75th year. That in itself is a fantastic achievement. And, long may it continue.
Which of you was first involved at trustee level altogether?
I was involved on the committee many years ago, of the Sphinx committee, but I found it hard work, to be honest. I think it was run by people that didn't really have a clue what they were doing. So I didn't have a great involvement in it, morely concentrated on the football club. But without the social club, the football club would struggle for a home. So that was one of the reasons I stayed on the committee. But as you say, as custodians, that's what we are. We are custodians of this club, and we will eventually pass the baton on to someone else to carry on the work we've done, like people have passed the baton on to us many years ago, and that's how it will continue. We had no security whatsoever on this site. It was owned by Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce got into a company position, where they wanted no longer to have any involvement whatsoever within the club. They were spending an average losing an average of £120,000 per year just having the club here. So they wanted to get rid of that responsibility and hand it over to the club. But obviously with that comes the responsibility of paying all the bills, the rates, everything, groundsman, paying for everything. The old committee were very reluctant to take that responsibility on. And that's where, as a football committee, we stepped in and offered to take the running of the club over as well. And I think if we hadn't have done that, 2 weeks down the road, the club would have been locked up and the football team finished. So it was a big ask for us to do, but it was a case of it was the only way to save the football club. So we've taken that responsibility on. We managed to, after 3 years of negotiation, managed to squeeze a very good lease out of Rolls-Royce. One thing I will say, Rolls-Royce were fantastic with us in them negotiations. And as you say, that secured our future. So we've got a 25-year lease running. Well, it's not a running lease, but I think we've got 23 years left on it at the moment. But that's the situation we're in at the moment. But obviously, we're not under threat of being kicked out in 2 or 3 years' time.
We've got longer terms for the club that we'll come on to, but would you say that that is part of the reason why stability is such a key word for the development of the club, as well as just how we're operating today?
Massive. You'll notice, as soon as we got that lease, the first thing we did was build a 3G facility, paid for by the club. So we didn't borrow any money. Obviously, we had investors that came in and helped us, but this is, the kind of money we want to invest in the club, because we've got security.
Yeah. Once you get a long lease of that sort of length, 25 years, it opens the doors to quite a lot of funding that's available from various sports bodies and governments and things like that. So as Joey said, it enabled us to build the 3G and then move forward. Because before we had the lease, it was just like a sort of a rolling 12-month lease, which obviously you couldn't make any plans for the future with that sort of arrangement. And
of course, with securing a long-term lease, it allowed us then to invest, particularly in the football, on the basis that the club's growing, and it's growing every season. So we, as a three, decided that we needed a sound foundation. We are in debt with nobody. We make decisions based on the fact of securing our future. We don't make any decisions lightly. We debate it an awful lot. If it's the right thing to do and it washes its face, then we will go for it.
What was the club like on the pitch when you first got involved at, we'll call it, trustee level?
Pitch-wise, very successful. Very, very successful. As you say, the Sphinx throughout Coventry is well-renowned name, and well-respected name on a football basis. So, yeah, everyone knows the Sphinx.
And we've worked hard to get that.
Yeah, we have worked hard, and we've worked hard to keep it established as a club that's progressing all the time. But I think if you ask anyone around the Midlands now, they'll have heard of the Sphinx in football circles. As you say, yeah, always been very, very successful. I think we had a manager, Paul Charnley, and I think he was the most successful manager we had. I think, he won the Midland Combination promotion, he won the Telegraph Cup, the Bedford Nursing Cup, a very, very talented side we had.
And took us through to the quarterfinals
of the FA Vars, which was a massive achievement for a team at our level. And to be honest, we should have been in the semi-final. Say no more.
That's a debate, that, bless him, AD, if he's listening, that was a definite penalty. The referee, I think, got cold. It was in injury time, and he blew the whistle. The ironic part of all of this is the side that beat us actually went to Wembley that year and won it, and they're now called
AFC Filed.
So that we were that close, and we're determined to get back to that position. Fantastic. The buzz around Coventry at that particular time. No disrespect to the Sky Blues, but they were struggling, and it would have been nice that Coventry Sphinx could have been the next Coventry club to play at the new Wembley. It didn't happen. That's football.
The nice thing is that we know we're capable of doing it. It's just having that little bit of, sometimes you need the rub of the green, and in that quarterfinal we didn't get the rub of the green, full stop. So you say you need that little bit of luck, but at least we know we are capable of getting to them sort of venues. So it keeps us going every year. So when the FA Vars and the FA Cup come along, it's fantastic for us as a club.
What would you say are the other highlights of the time that you've had as chairman, vice chairman?
We won the Midland combination after coming very close on a couple of occasions, didn't we? We were runners-up to Atherstone with a record number of points for runners-up and record goals and that sort of thing. And the following year we got promoted, so that was a highlight. As we mentioned, the Vars is probably the biggest highlight, but we had quite a few trips to Highfield Road, didn't we, in the Telegraph Cup in that period, in the Charity Cup and the other cups. There's been a few.
The highlight, I think, was probably the round before the quarter final down at Stanway. I think that was the biggest highlight.
If I remember right,
my involvement in the club.
Did we not use West Ham United's training ground?
Yeah, Neil Long organised. Well, fair play to Long. He was heavily involved in the club at the time. He organised for the players to stop overnight, train at West Ham's training ground before in the morning before the game. And then did the same for the quarter-final where we trained at Carrington before the game against Kirkham and Wesham. I think Neil organised all that. But they were highlights. They were fantastic highlights for the team. But as committee and supporters, I think Stanway was the highlight.
That was a tremendous evening. I remember going back into the bar afterwards and the results were coming through on Sky News and we could see our name on the ticker at the bottom. Right. That was unreal. The as a consequence of that association with West Ham, further on into the season, Kirbishley was the manager, and they were playing Coventry in a League Cup, if I remember, at the Rico, and they asked if they could use our ground as a training during the day prior to the game. Of course, we were delighted to do it. We were told to keep the press away because there was a certain Craig Bellamy in the squad. But again, something like that, PR cost us nothing. And, you've got the likes of West Ham United get in contact with us, see if they could use our facilities. And Kirbishley, if I remember, Joe, complimented. He said, this is fantastic. What level you guys are? And, it's brilliant.
I think a great thing as well is obviously cup finals and stuff like that, especially on the junior side. To go and watch the kids play in finals or league games, but mainly finals, which the youth and the juniors have been very successful at. It's a pleasure to watch them play and how much they enjoy actually playing for the Sphinx. So, yeah, that gives us great pleasure as well.
One of the, you mentioned highs, particularly at juniors. One that springs to mind is the presentation night that we had at the Hilton. There was over 500 people at it. We had, bless him, Jeff Foster from the BBC. He was just, he could not believe that this was going on. And one of the things that we always ensure, particularly with the juniors, is that they're the stars of the show and we put a show on for them. And to get an under-7 player on the stage of a certain category, I don't know, it could be manager's player, and he's standing alongside the older age groups, all wearing the same, all wearing the badge, I will never forget that night. That was an awesome night. Another occasion was down in Bournemouth. I think, Joe, you were there. Buzzy, you may have been there as well. We took basically the whole club down to Bournemouth for a tournament, and Dave Bassett was the celebrity giving the trophies out, and to a player and parent who represented this football club, all our opponents that went up, they got a standing ovation from all our players and parents. And Dave Bassett, if I remember, turned round and said, I haven't got a son, but if I had, that's the club he'd go and play for. And, that was fantastic. Dave Bennett, Benno, well, we all know Dave Bennett, particularly in the city of Coventry. He comes down here quite often. He's always asking how we get on. He's involved with the walking football that we have down here now during the week. That will be starting up again, I think, tomorrow. So, yeah, links with the local community is fantastic. Lowe's, the passing of Nibbo, that I think that shocked all of us. Joe, it was a League Cup, wasn't it?
It was a League Cup game we were playing in Mere in Stoke-on-Trent. And for some reason, I don't know, I can't even remember why, I didn't make that trip that day. And I would normally be with Nibbo in the car, and on the way back, they've had an accident. They've run into a tree, the smallest tree you've ever seen in your life. You think that wouldn't do any damage to anyone. And unfortunately, Nibbo lost his life over it. As you say, to the club, it was the biggest shock any of us ever had. It shook the club to its foundations. Cool, yeah. He was a massive, massive Sphinx person. Again, like me, he'd been involved for years and years, player, manager. It was a massive blow to us. But I think it made the club stronger because everyone, even all the players that, had stopped playing, got back involved with the club, to see what Nibbo wanted was the club being successful. So massive shock. Then obviously we've got ex-chairman like Ron Cooper, who was a fantastic bloke as well. Ron passed away. Kevin Whitehall, another one who was chairman of the club, he's passed away. And then we had the tragic death of Paul Gibbons as well, Gibbo. Again, another massive blow to the club because he was well loved by everyone. I don't think you could speak to anyone who had a bad word to say about Gibbo.
And of course, Pongo.
And Pongo as well, yeah. So they're all shocking deaths. Pongo, like a young lad, a lot younger than me. I played with Pongo, fantastic lad. And again, just a shock. But I think in the long run, it's made the club stronger because we see what we're doing it for. It means a lot for us to do it for the memory of these people. So,
and in recognition to the three lads and their families, our rooms are named after them. Nibbo's in the function room, Gibbo's is obviously the lounge, and Pongo in the bar. I've got a little story about Gibbo. I remember the last game of the season, and he Brummie lad, was he a Blues fan? What a fantastic influence in at senior level. And I remember talking to him last game of the season. And he broke down and he was crying in the lounge. And he says, "That's it, Dan, my football career's over." I said, "No, it's just starting. I want you to get involved in the juniors." And his eyes pricked and he said, "I fancy a bit of that." And his eldest lad, Daniel, was of age, and Gibbo took it on board. Very excited. He was very excitable, wasn't he? And he just couldn't believe he was given this opportunity. And obviously then leading up to the season, there were the portable goals were delivered to his house, and his wife told me that he was that excited he tried to put the post together in his kitchen, knocking cups, saucers, and everything over. And then he'd meet up with the lads, his team, and he phoned me up and he said, "I've got me a tournament pre-season over in Brinklow. Do you mind coming over and giving me a hand?" I said, "Pleasure." And I will never forget Gibbo running up and down the sideline, kicking every ball, heading every ball. But he was coming out with terms, hold, turn, to 7-year-old kids who would not understand. And he said to me afterwards, "They're not listening." I said, "Gibbo, they don't understand. You've got to start from..." He was a superstar. He was a superstar, greatly missed by everybody. And as a consequence of that, we have an annual award. It's Clubman of the Year, and it's dedicated. It's called the Gibbo Award now. The other thing I'll also like to bring in is that you'll notice in our corridors we've got lots of photographs of past players, current players, and all the rest of it. We have actually got past players who left because they were of age, they were raising a family. They're now coming back in as junior managers with players. So every so often you can look down the corridor and you can see dads showing their sons, this was him. When it's a family club, and it's not a football team, it is a football club.
I think as a club, I've come in later than all of this, but you get a sense of that family feeling and all of these people that you never met that are such a part of the fabric of the place. And we've got rooms named after some of them. We've got a stand named after one of them.
Yeah.
And the only way as a club that we can really do justice to their legacies is to progress ourselves as a football club, which I didn't meet them, but I feel fairly certain that is what they would have wanted for this place. And we're going through consultation now for plans for development on and around this site in partnership with Wellington Arch. What can you tell us about how that came about?
Rolls-Royce decided that they were clearly going through difficult times, and there was 6,000 people being made redundant and so on and so forth. So they needed to offload sporting arenas, not just here in Coventry, but around the country. So they put it up for sale. And again, Rolls-Royce, hats off to them. They wanted to make sure that they could do as much as possible to protect the sporting facility. And they knew, they know, the three of us, we sold, I say, our dream to them, and we're in the position we are now. They sold it. The new developer came in, and as a consequence, they wanted to know about what happens here. Clearly, it's a football club with other sports facilities, other sporting events going on. And to secure the freehold of this, we went into a joint application to the council. And if it comes true, and hopefully, fingers crossed it does, then, the conversation that we had in the car park many years ago about, where's this club going? What can we do? Is hopefully we'll be able to get it over the line and move on and plan to move on.
I think the secret was, if we hadn't signed that 25-year lease at the time, we were gone.
We were in trouble.
We were in massive trouble. So when Rolls-Royce, obviously, they decided 2 years after we signed the lease that they were getting rid of all the land. Simple as a commercial decision. They sold every bit of land they had, just sold it off. But obviously, we've still got a 25-year lease on it, so any new buyer coming in has to deal with us.
That's one of the lease.
So Wellington Arch came forward, and to be honest, they've been a pleasure to deal with. There was lots of other developers in it, but they didn't have the same concern as Wellington Arch have got, that they want to look after the club. So that was a massive boost to us.
And what we're talking about as a plan is 200 odd homes, including social retirement housing.
It's not as many. I think they've reduced the housing element now.
They've reduced it according to, obviously, they've had consultation with local residents, council and stuff like that. So it's been back and forth. The first one was 200 houses. I think the second, they're probably on the third edition now, and it's been reduced to obviously try and to help out with the complaints that the local residents have got. So they're trying everything in their power to make everyone happy. It won't make everyone happy, but they're trying their best to satisfy everyone's needs. So
most of the land that's being used is completely derelict at the moment anyway.
Yeah, completely derelict, overgrown, private land that's never been open to the public. As you say, it's land that's was owned by Rolls-Royce, now owned by the new developer. So no one's got access to it. It's private land. But it is very dangerous down there. So it's the old golf course, and that's what they want to develop. So, we think it's going to be good for the community, and it's hopefully win-win all round.
In effect, this is the podcast of the football club, so I'm speaking as a football supporter, and the thing that jumps out to me, as I'm sure it does for you, is the freehold to the ground. Tell us a bit about why that's so important for how we progress on the pitch.
We can get even more funding when you own the land. I mean, funding organisations will give you money, but if you've only got a lease, albeit for 25 years, then the money that the funders have given to you just expires, doesn't it? It just disappears. Whereas if you've got own the freehold, it's there for.
As you say, what we've got is control of our total destiny. That's what we've got. If it comes off, touch wood, it does. That's what we've got. Before, we never had that. As I say, we had a lease, but obviously that lease only lasted 23 years. So after 23 years, we could be, again, thrown off the site. So it secures the whole future for the club for forever. Virtually.
Generations.
We're custodians of the club. And this will pass on to other people. And what a great opportunity. The number of conversations I've had with people over the years and said, if I won the lottery, I'd buy the Sphinx.
100%.
So, and that dream has come true.
And see, the other thing, of course, is that on the committee, and which includes us three, we don't have our children have gone through. They played here, and I think Joe, it's just your granddaughter, isn't it?
I've got a granddaughter
still with us.
Yeah, plays for the girls' team.
But Andrew and our Daniel, same age, they've gone through, Joseph and Liam, and they still care about it. And that's the whole premise of being associated with a club such as ours. We can all hold our heads up high, as can ex-players of ours. That wow, this is destiny certainly would be in our hands, and we want to grow. There's no question about that. It isn't a matter of sitting back and saying, okay, we achieved it. The day, if it comes and we get what we're after, that's the first day of hard work, because then we really will start progressing. And I have to make this point, we are not in competition with Coventry City Football Club, quite the opposite. We talk to Dave Boddy quite often, and anything we can do to help them and vice versa. We're in partnership. There's nothing legally binding, but we're certainly not in competition with Coventry City. In fact, the three of us and majority of supporters and players here are Sky Blues fans. But, there's something about Coventry Sphinx. Once you get it in and it's under your skin, you can't get rid of it. And it's a great place to be. For me, it starts, we've got to bring Soccer Rocks into this as well. He's bringing children in at 3 or 4 years of age, and, they're using our facilities, and Tom and his team are fantastic to deal with, and they're actually producing the next generation of players to this football club. One of the other really important points is that whether you're 6 years of age or you're playing for the first team, you all wear the same kit, you all wear the same badge, so you've got identity. And also in each age group, you may have children with single parents. It doesn't matter what your background is, children will come here because they love football. And while they're with us, all our coaches, who, hands up to all our coaches and managers, they do it for nothing. You can actually instill good things, skills, respect skills. And while you've got a captive audience because they love football, we can start instilling things into that. Respect of referees, because without referees, we haven't got a game. You could have any age group, over 100 supporters, and they'll all be screaming at a referee. His mum and dad might be there. That is not fair. You've got to respect them. And, there is a culture here that, every pound that comes in, every player, junior level, will get a part of it. I've handed back cheques to fathers who would give me a cheque for £1,000, and I'd say, everybody, he said, no, it's just for my son's team. I hand it back. If one team gets a bag, they all get a bag. That's important. That's important because if they've got aspirations at playing at youth team level in the FA Youth Cup, under floodlights and playing for the first team, we need to get them as quickly as possible, part of this football club. And it's important. There's no elitism. When we started out on this journey, certainly at junior level, we had a lot of serious people around the table. And for my involvement, it was quite simple. We're going to do this properly. It isn't about me, it's about others. And, as a consequence of that, we were the first club in Coventry to achieve the FA Charter, which totally protects children. It makes sure that all our coaches are qualified to a certain level. And it's just a pleasure to be involved in it. And I'm sure the two lads would agree with that.
What we're talking about is the character of the club. And as a supporter, even my involvement here is first team level. But as a supporter, it's important to me that the club has a character like that and that we treat referees, parents, kids with respect, but also the local community. And that's where the development crosses over with everything, which is we need to be a positive part of the community. Our involvement locally has to be genuine. And I guess that you all share that as a committee.
Yeah,
No,
100%.
definitely.
We've had experiences where, a child would turn up and his parents have paid £120 for a pair of boots, think he's going to be a superstar. And then you've got another boy, probably from a single parent, who's got a pair of second-hand boots. That guy or that child with second-hand boots is as important as anybody. It's about, what I love about it is it brings in people from all backgrounds, no matter who you are and what you are, into an environment that offers them security. It offers them a sport that they love. And while we've got them, we can do other things with them. We can teach them about respect. And, sadly, that's lacking. But we do. Yeah, and one of my frustrations, and I know it's for Neil and Joe, is that there's a hell of a lot of activities that happen up here on a Saturday morning or a Sunday, I need time off, and so does Joe and Buzzy. I mean, I'd love to come up and meet all the parents, all the players, but it's just impossible. It's hard work. But hey, that's one of the pitfalls of growing.
Yeah, community-wise as well. Obviously, we run a bonfire night. It's spectacular, and we invite all the local neighbours. We put leaflets through their doors, asking them to get involved. And to be honest, usually a great night. It's usually a fantastic night. Then we'll put functions on in the room, stuff like that. But in the past, the community hasn't really supported the club because I don't know if they think the club's a private club and no one's allowed to come near it. We're totally open. Anyone's welcome. If they want to come up and have a pint, no problem whatsoever. Bring your kids, your wife, family. There's no issues whatsoever. And I think that's the good thing we've got over in this development that's going on, that we are part of the community, and that's what we want to be. We want to be a hub for the community.
You must all be looking forward to football as much as I am.
In all honesty, I'm glad the season's come to an end, because I think it'd be a bit of a farce trying to carry it on. Let's stop it and we start again in August. And hopefully it's not closed down again after that.
And come back healthier and stronger and all the rest of it.
Give it 12 months and it might be a distant memory.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching some live football because it's a bit boring watching this stuff on the television with no crowds or anything like that. Just meeting the people. Of course, we miss all the lads and
we love the buzz. The place is dead.
Yeah, that's it.
The place is dead,
buzz,
and
that's
it's the
right
people that are the heartbeat of the club. And sooner this lockdown finishes, the better. There's nothing better than a full clubhouse, particularly at the end of games, particularly if you've won, of course. But yeah, we're hopeful that we are coming to the end.
Can't wait to see you, Callum.
Oh, but I've got to say, I'm going to give a couple of shout outs here. Craig Herbert, ex-pro, he's involved in the juniors. Another fella, Steve Shea. Between the three of us in the first lockdown, I'd like to personally thank the pair of them because we managed to get some video messages from past and present pros. Even Howard Webb sent us a video standing on Brooklyn Bridge, I think, in New York. So a big shout out to them. And I'd also like to, hope and pray that everybody's kept themselves safe and that all our players have been out in the back garden, probably broken a few fence panels, doing their ball skills. And if there's any parents out there that need any fence repairs, if they give us a ring, I'll send my brother round.
Thanks to Danny, Joey and Neil for talking to me this week. Now you've heard what our three trustees have to say, I'm sure you'd offer your support to Coventry Sphinx as we work to obtain a freehold on our ground. You can do so by visiting the Coventry City Council website at planning.coventry.gov.uk, searching the planning portal and backing the joint application. One last time, the reference number is OUT 2021 0104. Of course, all this happening off the pitch is important, but getting players back on it is what we all really want. And we're starting to get some movement on that at last with the new season on the horizon. Football matches are looking like a possibility as we wait for the serious stuff to return. Keep an eye on the club's social media for updates as non-league football gradually comes back. I'll be back when there's something to say. See you then.